And you, and you, and you, and you were there. Some of it wasn't very nice, but most of it was beautiful.
Welcome back.
How do, everybody? How do?
It's the happy fun hour time with Morris and Bryan, or whatever this is called.
Dream Idiots? Dream
that's,
Idiots.
that's it.
Episode 28 of Dream Idiots.
Keep blanking on the title. Yeah, so welcome back, folks. Thanks for listening and subscribing. And if you haven't yet, go online wherever you're listening and give us 5 stars, please. That helps. We would appreciate it. And thanks for your feedback and doing all those good things.
Yes, thank you so much. And we've gotten some emails from the various folks who've been listening. Thank you again for that. And we're going to continue the dreaminess and the idioticness today.
Whether you like it or not.
Well, yeah, because again, we do this to amuse ourselves, and we just want you along for the ride if you want to come. So I believe it's my turn to go first, Bryan.
You're correct.
Okay. So all of the talk last week I had, and the talk we just went on before we started recording, I was talking about movies that really impacted me during the Cold War. We talked about the telefilm, The Day After, a film called Testament, and then of course the classic War Games, all of which were movies that, despite the fact they scared me, I kind of had to watch them because they were so well made, right? So what I'd like to do today is instead, let's go back to the movies, Bryan. Let's all go to the movies, part 3.
Okay.
And this is called Movies I've Walked Out of. Now, I'm telling you the story of these 4 movies I've walked out of because, first of all, let me say that all of these movies are better than any movie I've ever made because I have not made any movies. That being said, let's get started. This was inspired by a post, an online guy that I really respected on a message board that I frequent, whose name, he went by the name Imyo. And Imyo started this great thread that was basically, ever walked out of a movie? And how did it make you feel? And he compared it to walking on air, knowing that you are out and free and about in free society while all those other poor bastards are still watching this awful movie in the theater. And so I thought, okay, what movies have I walked out of? And to my knowledge, I've walked out of 4 movies, Bryan, 4. And I have one of the reasons I wanted to start doing a Let's All Go to the Movies thing is I often remember what people I saw what movies with. And the only movie I can ever think of seeing with you is Eddie Murphy's last great film, Boomerang. That's the only movie. And I know you and I have seen more movies than that together, but for some reason, I remember seeing Boomerang with you because we were laughing ourselves silly. But
and I do recall seeing Lethal Weapon 3 with you.
Oh, okay. All right. That's one I didn't think about. That was during my crush on Rene Russo period. So in 1989, I took the day off, and the girl I was dating in high school, the 2 of us went up to Austin, Texas for the day, and we went to go see a movie at the Dolby Theater in Austin, which I believe is gone now. Did it close down a few years back? I think it did.
The Dolby is still there. The theater, yeah, I think the theater's long gone, yeah.
So the Dolby was known for playing odd films. They would do midnight movies, I think. They would do classic revival, stuff like that. And this young lady I was dating, she was a senior, I was a junior. She had heard there was a really great movie playing there that was a comedy from the 70s that was also 3D. So we decided to go. So we put on the 3D glasses and we were shuttled into the smaller theater there, and it was packed. And I cannot for the life of me remember the title of this movie, but it was indeed a 3D comedy. It was from the 70s, but it was also a porno. So she immediately screamed. I was like, oh my God, at the first sight of swinging breasts and a swinging penis in 3D, people trying to slap things out of the air in front of their face. She was horrifically embarrassed, grabbed my hand, and we immediately just ran out of the theater and went to Quackenbush's for coffee instead, the old used bookstore and coffee shop there on Guadalupe.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And I think Quackenbush's is long gone too. But that was the first movie I recall walking out of. And it was one of those things where it was like, we're adults, let's go see an adult movie. No, not quite this adult movie. This was a little too adult for us. Now, later in 1989, this time with another girl that I'm dating, the girl from the first story, and I had broken up. So I was with another girlfriend, and we decided to go to the local movie house in San Antonio that showed those classy art films and foreign films.
Mm-hmm.
I think it went by Crossroads, and I think it eventually went by the name the Bijou, and it
Yeah.
just it closed down within the last month. It's gone. It's
Right.
gone.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
But we saw like, Last Temptation of Christ there. I saw
Not that funny.
not that funny. We saw a whole bunch of arty films there, and then when they would do like film revivals, I saw The Searchers there on the big screen again. I saw Blazing Saddles. A bunch of my friends went to go see Clockwork Orange, when they were doing the Warner Brothers 70 years. But in 1989, we went to go see this movie called Scandal. And it's a British drama, and it recounted the Profumo affair, where the Secretary of State for War for Great Britain had a sexual relationship with a 19-year-old model named Christine Keeler. John Profumo and Christine Keeler. Not marking any bells.
Not ringing a bell at all.
So this thing was rife with full frontal nudity for both men and women, and at least one orgy scene, because that's the scene where we left because we had no idea what was coming. This film actually had to cut out a scene to get an R rating in America, because while everybody is simulating sex in the orgy scene, there was actually a couple on the piano having sex, and they had to cut that scene out because that would have been an X rating, right?
Right.
So we left. She turned bright red. I turned bright red because this wasn't our first date, but it was like we're trying to be classy and go see a foreign film. And oh my goodness,
Whoops.
Here's all of these a recreated orgy scene from the 1960s. Now, this movie stars John Hurt, Joanne Whaley Kilmer, who was Val Kilmer's wife at the time, and Ian McKellen was in this movie. And another character who played, I believe he was Christine Keeler's boyfriend, Roland Gift, the lead singer of Fine Young Cannibals, was in this movie. Yeah. I've never attempted to rewatch this one. I think I'd like to, because it sounds like a really good movie. For example, it holds 91% on Rotten Tomatoes. It received a 4 out of 4 stars from Roger Ebert. Peter Bradshaw of The Guardian calls Hurt's performance his masterpiece. I think the worst thing you can say about this film, because I'm not going to body shame anybody, right? The human body, I'd much rather have scenes of sex than scenes of violence, that kind of thing. The worst thing you can say about this film is that it garnered a line in Billy Joel's song, "We Didn't Start the Fire." It's mentioned in that song.
Oh, wow.
Which, yes. So here's a film that's filled with nudity, all kinds of sexual acts. Did I mention that I met the girl? She and we met through our youth group at church. Does that add anything to it? But this is the one of the 4 films that I'm talking about here. This is the one film I think I'd like to see again. Now that I'm older and understand the storyline a little bit. Plus, it's John Hurt and Ian McKellen. I mean,
right?
They're good, right? They're good.
Absolutely.
Let's move on to a film that I never want to see again. A 1993 film, and again, all of these films are better than any film I've ever made. A film called Indecent Proposal. Do you remember this hunk of flaming dog shit?
I don't think I ever. Yes, Demi Moore, Robert Redford, Woody Harrelson, I think.
Yes, sir. Very good.
And I never saw it. It looked like a fucking train wreck, and like, no, I'm not going to see that. I mean, it seemed like a stupid ass premise.
Yes. For those of you who haven't seen it, spoilers for a 29-year-old film. A millionaire offers a struggling couple $1 million if he can sleep with the wife of the struggling couple, played by Demi Moore. Robert Redford is the millionaire. I saw this as a group date in college, Brian. So again, it's a date situation with me. A young lady I was dating and dated for quite a while, even after this. We dated for about 1.5 years. We went as a group date to this, and I couldn't handle it. And this was probably our 2nd or 3rd date. And I remember turning to her and saying, "Hey, I like you. I'm having a great time, but I cannot sit through the rest of this movie.
Right. I'm gonna go play Pac-Man.
I'm gonna go play Galaga out in the lobby, and I'm gonna hang out there until you're done." And I remember she came out and I said, "Let me tell you how it ended." And I told her, and she was like, "Yep, that's exactly how it ended." I said, "Oh, well, we all saw it going that way." Now, this flaming pile was nominated for 7 golden raspberries, Brian.
Oh,
you know what the raspberries are?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. It won 3. It won the golden raspberry for the worst picture, the worst screenplay, and Woody Harrelson won worst supporting actor. It was also nominated for 2, and I'm not as familiar with, I mean, golden raspberries are really the I guess the high point or the low point, depending on how you look at it, for bad performances. It was also nominated for 2 stinker awards. It didn't win, but Redford and Harrelson were nominated for worst actor and worst supporting actor. And that was truly a film that left me with that walking on air feeling, even though I was just hanging out in the lobby. It's like, thank God I'm not in that theater having to watch this. And finally, from 1999, I was entertaining a family friend's child for the day who was a teenager. And so 99, I would have been 28 years old. I said, yeah, I'll hang out with him, take him to the mall, do whatever. We decided to go to the movies because he wanted to see the new Star Wars prequel, Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know you're not a big Star Wars guy. You're not a big sci-fi guy. You're not a big comic book guy. You just could give two shits less about that stuff.
Correct.
I do not like the prequels. I don't care for the first two. The third one's pretty good, but I don't care for the first two. The Phantom Menace was a mess. And we had to leave this movie because the person I saw it with, this young man who was 12 or 13 at the time, got physically ill because of the pod racing scene, was so fast and so jarring. And he turned to me and said, we need to leave. And I said, you don't like the movie? I'm going to throw up. And we went outside before he managed to throw up. This was nominated for 7 Raspberry Awards, and it won 1. Can you guess what it won in? What category it won for Best Raspberry? Or
it must have been worst actor or worst supporting actor for, I'm drawing a blank on the actor's name, but he was terrible.
Go ahead. Jar Jar Binks.
Okay.
Yeah, it was nominated for 7 Raspberries. Poor Ahmad Best, who won for worst supporting actor for Jar Jar Binks, a widely reviled character in the Star Wars, canon and universe. So I guess in the long run, I don't know much about movies, but it's kind of like what Potter Stewart said about pornography, the Justice of Porn. I don't know what defines a crappy movie, but I know it when I see it. And of these, really, again, there's only one that I would re-see. A Nameless porno from the 70s, no thank you. Indecent Proposal, no way. Not if it's the last movie in the world. And then I can take or leave the Star Wars prequels, that's fine. But I would like to rewatch Scandal. So with that, those are the 4 movies that I can recall having walked out of, Brian. Do you have any that you don't strike me as the kind of guy that walks out of a movie.
There have been a couple. I did watch Phantom Menace and made it. I believe I made it all the way through the Phantom Menace. I laughed out loud recently because there's a comedian named Neil Brennan I like, who makes the joke, about people always recommending shows and movies for him to watch. And maybe it was Battlestar Galactica that someone was trying to talk him into, and he and I have the shared view is I don't care about space problems. I watched Phantom Menace and was just bored out of my mind. I managed to get all the way through that. The only movie that I can recall walking out of, and it must be this is a pretty good movie because it's I think it's Spielberg, Empire of the Sun. So it's probably
that's from like the 80s.
Late 80s, early 90s. Christian Bale as a kid. I have no idea who else is in it. I thought it was just fucking terrible. I have no, I don't recall who I was with. This is like, what's going on? I just got up and walked out. Like, no idea. This is not grabbing me at all. Just left.
Well, I'm inclined to think that we are more likely to walk out of stuff these days, or less likely, depending on who we're seeing it with and how we're watching it, because there's a world of difference between movies of the late 80s. I mean, when I was a kid, it didn't matter if the movie sucked. You got to go to the movies, right? I mean, that was a grand day.
I still have popcorn to eat. So
yeah, right. I got stuff to do. I got a Dr. Pepper. I got my popcorn. I'm good to go.
Right.
But I think it was also anchored into this belief, particularly at this time, where a show that you and I watched quite a bit in college, and I watched with my roommates Simon and the other Bryan, Mystery Science Theater 3000, right?
Mm-hmm.
The premise of which these poor guys are forced to watch horrible movies. And I think that you should approach art on its own terms. I'm not here to make fun of anybody's likes or dislikes. I guess when I don't like a movie is when it outreaches itself and tries to be something that it's not, right? That drives me nuts. And I've never made a film, so I can't speak to it. I don't know. I've kind of reached the point where I understand, and I think if more people did this, particularly in fandom, the world would be a better place. Not every movie is for you. Not every movie is catered to your exact tastes or my exact tastes. And if you accept something for what it's trying to do, it's like people who complain about, for example, the violence and the pop culture references and the attitudes in Quentin Tarantino films. He's not going to change. He's going to keep making the
Right.
same movies.
Right.
If you've seen one of them, you get it. And if you don't like it, move on, or my personal one is I don't like P.T. Anderson films. I just don't. Everybody else I know loves them, loves Boogie Nights, loves all these films.
Mhm.
I just realized early on watching a few of his films that, not for me. I've got other things that I can sit and
Right.
watch.
Right.
You've got a friend who hates Wes Anderson films, a relative who hates Wes Anderson films.
Well, and that was the exact name I was about to mention, because I certainly like Wes Anderson films. I know you do as well. And at some point in the past, 2 or 3 years, I didn't engage in this conversation because it's a pointless endeavor. But someone I know was just going off on how indulgent and ridiculous and repetitive Wes Anderson films were. Like, oh, you're trashing Wes Anderson movies. Just to be clear, what it is that you're doing. Okay, I mean, I guess they're not for you. I wasn't going to try to defend him, but whatever.
No, and I'm not gonna go to the mat really for anybody.
Right.
Because I'm at the point in my life where I know what I like and I know what I want to see. And every now and then something does surprise me. But there are certain, the one mystery for me is like Coen Brother films. There's some Coen Brother films I absolutely love.
Right.
And there are some where it's like, if I didn't see that one again, I really wouldn't. Wouldn't. That's kind of hit or miss for me. But I mean, Coen Brothers, come on, Fargo, Big Lebowski.
Right.
I'll watch those films. I will absolutely
sure.
watch Blood Simple. Their first one, Blood Simple's great.
Right.
But there's a couple others where I'm like, yeah, okay, I could avoid that and be perfectly happy. Anyway, so what this has inspired is there will be a sequel to this, and I don't know when I'll be doing it, but it will be a sequel that no one asked for. Let's All Go to the Movies Part 4 is going to be titled. It's going to be titled. Can you guess?
Movies you've made? No.
Nope. That would be a short episode. The next one is going to be called Let's All Go to the Movies Part 4, Movies I Should Have Walked Out of.
Oh.
And because
That's
I know that
list.
I've stayed way past the expiration date. I'm going to try to keep it to 3 or 4 movies that in retrospect, I probably should have been out playing Galaga out in the lobby instead of sitting through the rest of that film. But for whatever reason, I was talked into staying or had that just stupid MST3K mentality of stupid / genius MST3K mentality of this movie will not defeat me. I'm going to sit and watch this to the end.
Right. Even if it is 3.5 hours of absolute schlock. Right.
Okay. Yep. There we go. Let's all go to the movies Part 3, movies I walked out of.
There you go. Awesome. Thank you. That was good. All right, we're going to shift gears here a little bit. Are you ready?
Yep.
Time for the Dream Idiot's curse word of the week.
So this is a word you wouldn't necessarily think of as being a curse word. The word is lucky, because I think tied to this story, the word lucky was probably used as a curse word because someone was probably screaming it at the top of their lungs. So this comes from a story from 1993 from the Europa Times, which is a publication I have never heard of. Lucky is a German Shepherd, a seeing eye dog in Germany. But Lucky is not a very good seeing eye dog, and it was alleged that Lucky was directly responsible for the death of his first 4 owners. And so there was this little press conference, and this dog trainer in Wuppertal, Germany, Ernst Gerber, comes out in this press conference after the 4th death. And Ernst says, I admit it's not an impressive record. On paper, he led his first owner in front of a bus and the second off the end of a pier. He actually pushed his third owner off a railway platform just as the Cologne to Frankfurt Express was approaching, and he walked his fourth owner into heavy traffic before abandoning him and then running away to safety. But apart from epileptic fits, he has a lovely temperament, and guide dogs are difficult to train these days. So I just imagine all four of these people screaming "Lucky" as an expletive before their hideous demise. Apparently,
damn you, Bryan.
So at the end of this press conference, this trainer was asked if Lucky's fifth owner would be told about his previous record, and Gerber said, no, it would make them nervous, and that would make Lucky nervous. And when Lucky gets nervous, he's liable to do something silly. Are you okay?
Something silly.
Something silly, yes.
When was this again, Bryan? I'm sorry.
This was allegedly 1993. It's referenced in
Germany.
In Germany, yeah. Good old Lucky.
Well, first of all, I think Ernst Gerber was one of the guys trying to blow up the building in the first Die Hard movie. So let's discount what he says. But
yeah, close. Yeah, very close.
Something silly.
Something silly. If Lucky gets nervous, he's liable to do something silly. Yes. His other I don't know. It's sort of amusing. Good old Lucky. Lucky's long dead now, so Lucky's not hurting anyone else now. So but anyway, there you go. The story of Lucky.
Just the last thing that escaped their lips and the air pushing it past the vocal cords was this dog's name as they got pushed off a pier, pushed in front of a train,
right.
Led into traffic. Okay.
There you go.
Thanks, Bryan.
Sure, absolutely. So for my little story or topic this week, I'm not going to quiz you on this because, well, I'll halfway quiz you. You can see how many of these you get. I have long been interested in and liked, and I think you and I may have talked about offline, the best or most interesting or most whatever compelling opening lines for novels.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Some of them are pretty, easy and straightforward. Name this book. Its opening line is, "I am the Invisible Man."
Invisible Man?
Yeah. So
Ralph Ellison's Invisible Man?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
The Hobbit begins, "In a hole in the ground there lived a hobbit." Not really that, compelling or interesting. This line begins a famous book, "Lolita, light of my life, fire of my loins." Again, that one's pretty obvious.
Nabokov's Lolita.
Yeah.
Okay.
This one,
I guess that line would be better if it was what was the line again?
"Lolita, light of my life, fire of my loins."
So if it were, James Mason can make anything sound, "Lolita, love of my life, fire of my loins."
Right.
Sioux City, South Dakota.
Right.
George Kaplan in the Holiday Inn. Anyway.
"I'd like to buy a box of donuts." Sorry, not sure where that came from.
No sprinkles, please. I love James Mason, by the way. He's yeah. Okay.
So this one, this one may not be one that most folks get because probably a lesser known book, but I know it's one that you will know. "I am doomed to remember a boy with a wrecked voice."
Oh, not because of his voice or because he was the smallest person I ever knew, or even because he was the instrument of my mother's death. I am doomed to remember him because I believe in God. I believe in God because of Owen Meany.
Yes.
Yep. Prayer for Owen Meany. Yeah. Yep. Great book.
There you go.
God, I love that book.
Yep. All right. So those are the ones that were known and fairly obvious and perhaps straightforward. And we're going to dive into a few here. Some of these are from famous books that I'm not sure how much fiction you really read. I've for the past 20 years, I think I've read almost exclusively nonfiction. And so some of these are from more recent books that I have not read, but I went through like 200 titles. And a lot of these toward the bottom of this list are just really, really good opening lines. Like I have to grab the book now and find out more about it. So some of these are famous. Some of them are maybe a little bit more obscure, but depending how much fiction you read, you may actually know some of these. Okay. So here we go. "You don't know about me Without you have read a book by the name of The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, but that ain't no matter.
That's The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn.
Correct.
Right? Okay.
It was
by Sam Clemens. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a bright, cold day in April, and the clocks were striking 13.
Oh God, I know this, Brian. I know I've heard it, but I can't place it. What is it?
George Orwell, 1984.
Oh, yeah, funny guy.
Uh-huh. All right, next one. If you really want to hear about it, the first thing you'll probably want to know is where I was born and what my lousy childhood was like and how my parents
Catcher in the Rye. Catcher in the Rye?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. J.D. Salinger. Okay.
Yep, absolutely. Next one. It was a queer, sultry summer, the summer they electrocuted the Rosenbergs, and I didn't know what I was doing in New York.
Oh, I want to read that, but I can't tell you what it is. Is it like one of Ken Potok's books, or is it Chaim? How do you say his name? Chaim? Anyway, what is it?
The Bell Jar. Sylvia.
The Bell Jar. Okay. Again, not that funny. Okay.
Yeah, so don't read that. That's some heavy stuff. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times.
That would be Tale of Two Cities.
Yep.
Okay. The Winter of Our Discontent. Yeah.
I figured you'd know that one. Okay, maybe a little lesser known. This book was probably, when it came out, it was probably sort of young adult, but I remember reading this book definitely. Opening line is baroom, 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 baribbity, 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 baribbity. Good.
Johnny Got His Gun? I have no idea.
Bridge to Terabithia.
Oh, that book is such a downer.
That's describing a thunderstorm, I think.
Oh.
So anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, it's again, not that funny.
Nope.
This one you may know. In my younger and more vulnerable years, my father gave me some advice that I've been turning over in my mind ever since.
That would be The Great Gatsby.
It is.
Which also has one of the best closing lines of any book ever. Borne back ceaselessly against the tide. Yeah, that's good stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
One more. Science fiction-y, 1977. The opening line is, once a guy stood all day shaking bugs from his hair.
I don't know.
Philip K. Dick, A Scanner Darkly.
Oh, okay. I actually haven't read a lot of Philip K. Dick. I've only read a couple of
I think I've only read one. And A Scanner Darkly, the movie by Linklater, is awfully good. At least I liked it. Okay, next one. In the town, there were two mutes, and they were always together. I don't know why that line makes me laugh. In the town,
of Solitude. I have no idea.
Carson McCullers, The Heart is a Lonely Hunter, 1940.
Oh, Bryan, I just watched that movie last night.
Oh, really?
I just watched the movie version of that last night. It's Sandra Locke's debut and Alan Arkin.
Okay, there you go.
Plays John Singer. Oh, that's weird.
That's weird.
That is so weird. I've had it on my DVR for months, and I finally got around to watching it last night. Heart is a Lonely Hunter.
There you go.
Okay.
All right. Next one. Vaughn died yesterday in his last car crash.
One more time.
Vaughn died yesterday in his last car crash.
I don't know. Is it Heming? It sounds Hemingway-ish, but I don't know. Who is that?
G Ballard, Crash, 1973. I've never read it. Never even heard of it.
No, I haven't either. Okay.
I mean, I've heard of G Ballard. I hadn't heard of this book. So there you go. I don't know.
Okay.
Okay. Next one. All this happened more or less.
All this happened more or less. That sounds like Vonnegut.
It is. Wow.
Okay.
I'm impressed. Yeah, that's Slaughterhouse-Five.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Billy Pilgrim. Okay. Good. Yeah. I'm a big Vonnegut guy though. So that was.
Okay. Next one. The day my wife left, she gave me a list of who I was. I love that line. The day my wife left, she gave me a list of who I was.
That is great. But I don't know I don't know what it's from. But that's a great line.
Yeah, I'm gonna order this book. 1995, Chang Ray Lee, a book called Native Speaker, which I've heard of before. I don't Don't know what it's about.
Nope. That's a new one on me.
Yeah. Okay, next one. There were 117 psychoanalysts on the Pan Am flight to Vienna, and I'd been treated by at least 6 of them.
That is The Joy of Flying or The Fear of Flying. Is that right?
Holy shit.
Is that right?
Fear of
Erica
Flying.
Young, right?
Yep. Wow.
Okay. All right.
I'm blown away. You got that. Okay. Next one. In the Oakland Greyhound, all the people were dwarves, and they pushed and shoved to get on the bus, even cutting in ahead of the 2 nuns who were there first. Yes, I said dwarves. That's why you're laughing.
No, it's the dwarves and nuns, Bryan, and the Greyhound. I don't know what that is.
Dennis Johnson, the book called Angels, 1983.
Nope, new one on me.
Okay. Next one. Every summer, Lin Kong returned to Goose Village to divorce his wife, Shu Yu.
Well, you know what I'm thinking of. I don't know. That's a new one.
Again, a book I hadn't heard of. Author is Ha Jin. Book's title is Waiting, from 99.
All that makes me think of is the excellent long gone Chinese restaurant Shu Yu's in San Antonio. So
right.
where we used to frequent in college.
Yep.
Best cashew chicken in town.
Yep.
Okay, that's
Awesome.
a new one on me. I don't know that one.
And then this one, well, I'm not going to say anything because you got 2 or 3 that I didn't think you would get. Here you go. It was a dark and stormy night. The rain fell in torrents, except at occasional intervals when it was checked by a violent gust of wind.
Mary Shelley?
That's what I thought. Yeah, but no.
No. Okay, what is it?
Edward George Bulwer Lytton. It's the book is Paul Clifford, 1830.
Oh yeah, that's not
very obscure. Well, you got 2 or 3 on there that were in my mind, not, obviously not as old, but certainly obscure as hell. It was a dark and stormy night is just it's a very prevalent. I don't know.
That's a cliche. Like that was.
Yeah.
I remember first seeing that in
a long time ago in a galaxy far, far, far away. It's the same kind of thing.
It was a dark and stormy night. That's how Snoopy used to start off whatever he was writing in the Charles Schultz Peanuts cartoons. He'd be typing on top of his doghouse. It was a dark and stormy night. Yeah.
Right.
So I almost said Charles Schultz Peanuts. But
right.
Good.
So
grief.
there you go. And there's one more that I was desperate to find again, but I couldn't find. I'm convinced that there is a line that goes something along the lines of he stepped outside to light his 40th cigarette of the day or something close. It's close to that, which is a line I've always liked. Maybe it's 60th cigarette of the day. And I seem to recall that is the opening line of one of Ian Fleming's Bond novels. But when I was doing research, I couldn't find it.
Huh.
So
yeah, that's because
I may have made that up.
Yeah, no. That's this was fun, Bryan. I like this a lot. How about the first time he saw the Texan, he fell madly in love with him?
The first time.
I'm leaving out the character's name because it names him. The he is. I'm just using that as obviously a pronoun. But the first time he saw the Texan, he fell madly in love with him. The first time Yossarian saw the Texan, he fell madly in love with him. I think that's the first line.
Lonesome Dove?
Catch-22 by Joseph Heller. It starts with him in the hospital. And
really? Okay. Yeah.
He and the Texan are watching the soldier in white who has he's entirely bandaged from head to foot, and they put they've got a bottle of fluid that goes into an IV in his arm and a bottle that comes out from his groin area. And at the end of the day, the nurses just switch the bottles. And Yossarian wonders why they just didn't connect the 2 bottles together and just skip the soldier altogether. This is a very interesting one you've picked because I mean, first lines of novels are just, they're so important. Right. And that's what draws you in. And when you think about the great novels, like what is more natural than Holden Caulfield describing his, I guess what you're going to want to know about me. I mean, you immediately know who Holden Caulfield is from the opening lines.
Right.
And you know from the opening lines of Owen Meany that, oh man, this is a mystery to be unwrapped as to why does he believe in God because of this kid? And And can you get any more grand than it was the best of times, it was the worst of times? I mean, that's just
Right.
That's some good writing there. I mean,
Tell you what. Yep.
oh,
Yeah. So
well,
American Book Review and New York Times were the main two sources on that. So there you have it.
oh, that is awesome, Bryan.
But that's something we can return to again, because obviously there are a boatload more. I'm irritated I couldn't find the Bond reference. But,
Well, that'd be awesome. And you know what you should do too. And I'm not telling you what to do because it's your show, but you should do closing lines, spoilers, and just spoilers. But
yeah, had that thought as well. Yeah, so
that would be awesome, because I mean, there's nothing better than a book where you read the final line and your jaw just drops and you're like, oh man.
So yeah, so what's the closing line of Owen Meany? Do you know?
Please God, give him back to me.
I mean, I don't have it in front of me. I have no idea. I was betting you would know.
I think that's something like, oh, please God, give him back, or something. I beg of you, please, something like that, where he's begging God for one last favor. Yeah. And then of course the last line of my favorite last line is the Great Gatsby, borne back ceaselessly against the tide. That is just oh God, there's just certain books and films and albums that just resonate so much differently when you're older. And that to me is the sign of good literature, good art, where you approach from a different point in your life and you take something totally different away from it. And reading Great Gatsby now, you're like, oh my God, man, 20 years of memory since I've read this last. And that, again, that's some good writing. That's
yeah. Yep. Yeah. He does not suck. Tell you what.
What is Lonesome Dove's first line?
Oh, I don't know.
I'll have to look that up too, because that's another great book. The first line is, "We don't rent pigs." All right, thank you very much, Bryan. That was fun. I enjoyed that. This is a nice episode. This is a pleasant episode. No nuclear war.
Two in a row without things being too heavy. We were had a spate there where we were a little
dark.
Little dark. So anyway, all right, folks, thanks for listening and doing all those things for us, and let us know what you think.
Yep. See you next time, and be good to each other.